general theme of Chumash Devarim is Moshe Rabbeinu's review of all that occurred throughout the 40-year sojourn in the desert. Remember, at this point in time in Chumash Devarim, Klal Yisrael is standing right by the Jordan River, ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. Those who were under the punishment of the sin of the spies have already died out, and this is a brand new generation, a generation most of whom were born in the desert, did not necessarily know the acute bitterness of Egyptian captivity, and ready to go in to conquer the land, to take possession of the land, to seize their destiny. And Moshe Rabbeinu uses this opportunity in his final address to the Jewish people to go over all of the details that led us up to this point. And the obvious question is why? Why go ahead and have to review all of these details? These people could have heard these stories from their parents, could have heard the stories from their teachers, yet Moshe Rabbeinu feels the need to review literally every single detail, not just from the time, as we'll see as Chumash Devarim goes on, not just from the time that we were in the desert, but Egyptian servitude, and even before that, an entire review of Jewish history. And the question is why? So, of course, the simple answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe wants the Jewish people to be informed, wants them to understand the circumstances that led up to this particular point. But the truth is, if we refine this a bit more, what's happening over here is something incredibly amazing. Klal Yisrael is about to go in and take possession of the most sacred land on the face of the earth, about to go in and claim their title to Eretz Yisrael. Sometimes in life, when we have the opportunity to do great things, we forget that the opportunities we have are only because of the work, the effort, and the sacrifices of those who came before us. We sometimes make the mistake of thinking that opportunities just appear. They just come out of nowhere. Good, I was in the right place, the right time. Maybe sometimes things like that do happen, but more often than not, the opportunities we have in life are because those who came before us paved the way, because those who came before us went ahead and leveled mountains. Those who came before us sacrificed much in order that we could have the opportunities and we could have the options that we have in front of us. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Klal Yisrael, you have the great privilege to about to go into the land. But that privilege didn't just appear poof out of nowhere. That privilege didn't just come into being right in front of you. That privilege is the culmination of generations of work, generations of sacrifice, generations of people who tried so hard, dreamed about Eretz Yisrael, pined for Eretz Yisrael, but yet were never going to set their feet on their soil for you. And this is a profound lesson in and of itself, because what the Torah is sensitizing us to is to make sure to have gratitude to those who came before us. Whether it's art because of the effort and we put in the decisions we make, but also because of the selflessness and often the selfless sacrifice of those who came before us. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to make sure that the generation going into the desert was acutely aware of all that went right and all that went wrong, but more importantly, of all the steps, of all of the different things that occurred to the previous generations to enable the present generation to be able to go in. That's lesson number one. There's another lesson in this week's Parsha, which I think bears or requires a few moments of explanation. In the beginning of the fifth Aliyah, this is in Perek Yud Pasuk Yud Beis, chapter 10, verse 12, Moshe Rabbeinu says something which at first glance is dramatically amazing. V'ata Yisrael, and now you Jewish people, Ma Hashem Elokecha shoel mi'imach, what does God ask of you? Kiyim liyiras Hashem Elokecha, to revere God, leleches b'chol durachav, to walk in His ways, li'ahava oso, to love Him, v'la'avod es Hashem Elokecha, and to serve God with all of your heart and with all of your soul. So the commentaries, the Gemara first and the commentaries as well, pick up on this pasuk and they say, Moshe Rabbeinu makes it sound so easy. What does God ask of you? Except what? To revere Him, to follow in His ways, to love Him, to serve Him with all of your heart and all of your soul. So the Gemara already asks, I don't understand, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're making it sound so easy. But is it really so easy to do this? Is it really so easy to love, to revere, to commit myself? It's an easy task to commit oneself to God, or to love God, or to follow in his ways. I don't think Moshe Rabbeinu is minimizing the doing is telling us to take a step back and to ask ourselves one simple question. What does God do for us? Or, better stated, as people, as human beings, very often the question we ask is, what has God done for me lately? Or what has God done for me just now? And my dear friends, if you take a step back and ask that question and ponder the answer, it's quite overwhelming. Every moment that our heart beats, every moment that the blood courses through our bodies, every moment that our eyes have sight, that our ears have hearing, every moment that our legs have the ability to support our weight, every moment that we have the opportunity to look at a beautiful family, every moment that there's food in the refrigerator, that there's at least hopefully some money in the bank, every moment that my internal organs are working, every moment that my parents are okay, every moment that my children are intact, every moment, even if I don't have all of those blessings. Most of us don't have all of those blessings. But I venture to say, all of us have some of those blessings. And what Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to teach us is that so often in life, we become so hyper-focused on what we lack and what we don't have. And sometimes those things that we lack, those things that we do not possess, are quite intense and quite important. And sometimes those things are core and crucial to my happiness, to my well-being. But sometimes when you focus only on what you lack, you lose perspective on everything that you have. Moshe Rabbeinu was not trying to minimize the amount of effort involved in being a committed and pious Jew. What he's just simply saying is, if I take a moment to sit back and reflect on all that God has given me, what he asks in return is relatively minimal. What he asks for all of the blessing in the form of my commitment, my adherence, my love, my devotion is a very small ask in consideration of all of the beautiful, bountiful blessing that he showers upon each of us. Too often in life, we fall into the trap of becoming hyper-focused on what we lack, hyper-focused on what is broken, hyper-focused on what is in a state of disrepair in life, and we forget about all of the beautiful good. Our lives are not perfect. Our circumstances are not perfect. And for many of us, there are some serious things that are in a state of disrepair. But I would venture to say that for every item that's in a state of disrepair, there are 3 other items that are perfect. There are 3 other things that, even if they're not perfect, are wonderful. It's important to take time every single day, not just to catalog that which is wrong and that which is broken. Most of us can rattle that off just like that. But it's important to take time every day to sit back, to reflect on the blessings, to reflect on that which is right, and to say thank you to Hashem for all of the beautiful brachos he showers upon us. And to say to him, to make the commitment that Moshe Rabbeinu was asking us to make. You give me so much, Hashem, I'm going to try my best to reciprocate. I'm going to try my best to give to you. You don't need what I have to give, but out of a sense of gratitude, I want to give it. Out of a sense of gratitude, I want to share myself with you. If we engage in this exercise each and every day, I think 2 things happen. Of course, we become more committed Jews. We become more committed Jews because we're actively giving back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But more than that, we become acutely aware of all we have in life. Those things that we take for granted, those things that we overlook, those things that we think are just coming to us. When we take a step back and we contemplate, we think about them, we begin to see how incredibly rich we are. We begin to see how incredibly blessed we are. We begin to see how each of us are truly the beneficiaries of beautiful divine blessing. I wish all of you a wonderful day and a beautiful Shabbos.